Welcome to Terra Nil. This is a strategy game where you have to turn this wasteland into a thriving and green environment. Let me show you how the game works. First, you gotta place a turbine to power other buildings, as a range of which it can power other buildings. Then you can place a toxin scrubber, which turns the wasteland into fertile soil within the range shown. And as you can see, it makes the soil ready. Let's do a second one for good measure, right here. And then with this fertile soil, I can take an irrigator and actually water it so it becomes greenery. Observe the beautiful retakeover of the environment. Now you should note that all these buildings have costs. They cost leaf amounts. My leaf amount is shown in the upper left corner, and that amount increases whenever I turn soil into greenery. Now you might also notice that these buildings cost a little bit more than what you may have seen in other videos or your own play. That's because I'm playing on environmental engineer difficulty, the hardest difficulty in the game, because I'm tired of games being easy. I simply can't take it anymore, so hopefully this will provide a fun challenge for me. And my irrigator's range can change shape. You can see in orange all the places that it reaches that isn't soil. I'm gonna get out and actually fertilize some more soil. Now I can get a huge bounty by fertilizing this soil, growing out the greenery. You should note that I'm not gonna get every single soil tile. Sometimes I like to leave messages in the soil, like this T, to remind the planet that Tyler regrew this greenery. Now, there's a lot more to do in this game besides growing grass, but I want to make sure I can get my economy going, which would look a little bit like placing down those buildings and getting just one more good strip of greenery. Everything except this one square land, because screw you in particular. Although I can't be too cold-hearted, the truth is this eventually will become green in the long run. It's just not efficient for me to do it now. Let me show you some other fun stuff you can do. If I place a turbine pretty close to the water, I can actually attach a water pump, which, as you may guess, fills in the water in the river. Observe. A bunch of beautiful greenery growing along this side. Now you might notice this greenery coverage progress meter. I gotta fill that all the way up, and that's just the first of a few goals, I think. So why not, after all this, go back to growing grass? And now that we know that water pumps actually grow grass along the edges of the river, it would make sense to leave that row empty, since this is gonna get it anyway. Let's get the rest of this river, huh? Beautiful progress, but I am starting to bleed in currency. All I can do is hope I don't go bankrupt by the time that I've actually completed my goal. I've even got to the point where my own resources are running low, but I figured it makes sense to turn all the wasteland into soil first, just so I have an idea of what kind of patterns I could make. For example, I could get a wonderful top section that kind of looks like this. Just a solid 1-2 punch, followed up with an elbow macaroni piece, and followed up with one more for good measure. Nobody's perfect, but I got most of my money back, which allows me to continue to expand, and I've got this whole wasteland down here that needs a little touching up. Annoyingly, the rock blocks the perfect placement, so I do have to settle a little bit. But one of the themes of this game seems to be that perfect is not ideal. Any environmental progress is good progress. I'm at 99%. And I get to make it over 100%. And now we have the next set of goals. Increase the diversity of growing plants, finbows, wetlands, and forest, and pay attention to the local climate. My goal is change. I gotta make each of these 3 environments. Now the hydroponium can make wetlands. It's placed over an irrigator and then turns the surrounding area into wetlands. Beehives get placed on trees and have sick payback. Look at this 130 payback. So many bees and flowers. And the last one's a little bit complicated, so I'm gonna work on the first 2 right now, which means getting up more wetlands, even more wetlands, and also beehives. Still have some progress that needs to be made, but at least I've got a lot of money back. Before I terraform further, how about I do a research center? Reduces the cost of some buildings and unlocks the ability to impact the climate? Sign me up. So what is discounted? Is it stuff in the first tab? Toxin scrubber is cheaper, that's for sure. But now I have a new thing in the upper left, the humidity. I want to increase the humidity of the planet, and if I do so, I get benefits along the way. The most important benefit to me is rains begin at 70%, but I'm halfway there. However, a cloud seeder can increase the humidity, and you can just see how much it would increase by. However, doing this doesn't immediately do anything for me. Plus 11% would get me fungi and forest. But I don't even have forest yet, which brings me to my next goal. Build a forest. First, I actually have to plan out where I want the forest, and I think it's going to be in this bottom corner. Now, it's important when placing down the greenery that I have a gap between where I want the forest to be and where I don't want it to be. Whoa! I just got an ideal bonus with flowers. I've never seen that before. Well, it's going to make me feel extra bad when I do my next step, which is then building a solar amplifier so I can do a controlled burn. Damn, do I really want to do it here? Now it's got me second guessing. Well, the greenery on top isn't an ideal greenery, so this could still work. So the idea is this. I put down the solar amplifier, and I can activate its ability to start a controlled burn, and it must start in the B section. And a fire will begin and spread, but you may see that it leaves behind special fertilized soil. It does destroy buildings in the process. And actually, it hits a lot, but at least it leaves the wetlands. But this soil can now host an arboretum, and I can construct monstrous forests back here. Over halfway completing my goal, this here gets another huge chunk and almost completes forests. Ooh, I even got an ideal forest. Glad to see things are going right. Yeah, how about I completed its goal? 110%. And ideal. Excellent. But now I gotta get the Finbos and wetlands up. Wetlands seems reasonable. I can get plus 39 here. Not all the way, but that is a wonderful wetland. And every wetland, it improves the humidity. I don't have any other good spots, but I do have spots for beehives. Now, I think I want to get maximum value out of these beehives, so I'll make some more soil ready to be beehived. Now this is wonderful. Ready for the ultimate beehive, a plus 122. It was an ideal grassland, but now it's going to be my ideal beehive. Maybe not ideal, but very good beehive. I could do something similar back here, where I just get the last bit of this soil, minus a couple corners, and covered up with a perfectly shaped greenery. I would like to hope this gets me the max. It does, actually. Cool that it's ideal greenery, but there we go. I've maxed out my Finbos. So now I need wetlands. In order for wetlands, I need to have irrigators next to water on lowlands. So perhaps right here would be fine, because I imagine that this is already more ideal. Hate to replace it, but the wetlands look so cool. It's at 88%, so I just need one more good one. If I do a spot right here, I don't have to pay too much. Ooh, I've got over 40% humidity. There's fungi in the forests, which I will check out in a second after I get this last hydroponium, which improves my goal, unlocking yet another goal. The final step is to construct an airship by recycling my buildings. As I remove my presence, introduce fauna, do away with machines, and introduce in wildlife. I must recycle all the buildings and introduce at least 3 animal species. But first, I want to get this humidity going. You can see the fungi in the forests, but I want to get ferns on riverbanks. And salmon running too. So here I can get a wonderful plus 12% humidity bonus. And here a plus 14%. Ferns on riverbanks have been introduced. And here I can get plus 10%, which means the rains can begin. And now all these ungreen soil pieces could actually start becoming green. Well, I boost it up to 84% as well. Have water lilies blossom. And here we go. Everything's becoming green. Now I can afford to do all the fun stuff, like building an airship. It must be built along the river, because the river's the best area for transportation. And because of that, I can place a boat by the river, and that would travel up and down stream to actually go collect recyclable materials. For example, right here I get plus 60, and I get to recycle those buildings, and then bring it back to the airship for a 9% recycle rate. And the goal is to do that, but I also want to make sure that I can introduce animals, so I'll get an animal observatory. Perfect for observing animals. This is the animal discovery section. I have to find a grazer that lives in herds on wide open grassland. So I do that by pressing the scan, then looking for wide open grassland, such as right here. And I found deer, 1 of 3. This small amphibian lives in the reeds of a wetland near a Finbos field. Here's wetlands, and here's Finbos field, so I would imagine it'd be right about here. I found a frog. This next animal belongs in a forest that contains a beehive and is on a hill. All of my forests are on low ground, so unfortunately I can't do that one. I can find a web-footed waterfowl in a large lake when it is not flying. This is fairly large. And there it is. And I could get the rest if I wanted to. Industrious rodent on a river near a forest. So here's a river. Pretty close to the forest. I mean, it's literally touching it. I don't know if that's touching enough. It is. I got a beaver. And this predator lives in a forest near to a source of prey. So I know. First, I got to scan for deer right by the forest. So then I could put a scan in a forest that's right by deer, right above it. And I found a timber wolf. So everything except for what I assume is the bear. Now I got to get recycling. And recycling is best done along the water. So I just got to make sure I can pick up everything along the water. I think this will already be hit. Just like that. Easy as cake. Can get an absolutely massive recycling bounty here. Plus 220. As well as a modest 110. Now, what about the stuff that isn't along the rivers? Well, for that, I can do recycling silos, which just gets built out here and recycles a portion of the costs, but leaves it in the silos. Now, I will have to come back for this silo, unfortunately. So I'm not even sure if doing it is right. What I think actually is right is expanding the river, which leads me to believe I must carve a new river through the wetlands with a laser. And I do still have to fill it in, but first I'll actually keep carving out this river. Boom. That is kind of mess with the environment a bit, but eventually it'll be filled in and totally worth it. Now, excavators need power, which means getting rid of the previous windmill here was a mistake. Thankfully, I have enough resources that I can afford to make a little mistake. Gotta be careful not to cut through the deer's wildlife, but I do need the river to expand. And I need a river to actually go into the woods to get these last couple of buildings. Rip those trees. They will be missed. Now it's important to actually pump water into these rivers. Oh, some are already filled. Good. In fact, they're all filled already. Maybe because of the rains, maybe because of the river. Either way, I'm happy. Because now I can get collecting. I can get a sick 325 from here. And a sick 235. I mean, now it's just recycle city. Population me. Get these. I think I missed. I meant to place it here. I can afford to take a couple extra trips. It's fun to go out in a boat. One more quality recycle. Did I miss anything after that? I might not have. I did miss one excavator. I'll get it. And while I'm waiting for this boat to get the last thing, I guess I could increase the humidity somewhere. Because now I have this big red button. I just realized I want a little bit more humidity. And frustratingly, the game doesn't actually let me build anymore now. I was expecting I could just get the humidity up now, but that's not an option. The important thing is this. I can launch the rocket and leave the area. Just remember what it looked like before, and now it looks like this. It's a huge improvement. Oh, and it even picks up the boat into the airship. Perfect. Wasteland reclaimed. So after terraforming that region, I'm unlocking a world map with its own continents and more places to terraform, which is what I'd love to do if you guys enjoyed watching. I'll run it back if the interest is there. So let me know what you thought. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you all in the next video. Have a wonderful day and peace.